News Talk 640. I think the song is appropriate. Myron, why can't we be friends?
That's the ever-present question, especially in these midterm elections.
Yes. Look, I don't do much politics stuff until I have to.
That's right.
And so when we get a little closer, we'll do a little politics stuff.
Yeah.
Because once I get off the air at 9 o'clock, that's all you're going to hear for the next 21 hours.
I know, that's true. That's true.
So all I want to talk about is local stuff.
Yeah,
we
got plenty of it.
Yeah, but unfortunately, some stuff we're going to talk about does involve politics. When you start talking about data centers, you're talking about politics.
Sure.
You've been, in case you don't know, Myron Pitts is the opinion editor for the Fayetteville Observer. You've been there forever and a day.
A little bit.
He's the fastest walker
I would
you
say
will ever see.
forever and 2 days.
When I worked over there with you at WRAL, you would whoosh, right through the thing. I'm saying, what's wrong with this guy? This guy walking.
I told you, my daughter adopted that. Well, B and my wife walk fast, and my daughter's the same way. But I mentioned this before. My son, who is 13, he just pokes along at his own pace.
Well, let me say this about that.
Which I admire him for that.
When I saw you
thing.
walking fast, as the journalist that I am, I had to do a little research, and I researched people who walk fast. And it
handsome, more intelligent. What else did you find?
I found out about they are very smart. Yes.
There we go. I'll take that one.
I don't know about the handsome part. I didn't see that, but it did say people who walk fast are pretty intelligent.
Yeah. Well, I started walking fast really young because I felt like, okay, I have to walk to get from A to B, but otherwise there's nothing really going on now.
Well, I mean,
let me just get there as fast as possible.
Your walk is...
I guess I wasn't the smell of the roses type.
Well, just one pace short of running. But after once I found that out, I picked up my pace. I wanted the people, no, I'm smart too.
All right.
Myron's not the only smart one in here.
That's right. We got a room full of smart folks.
Let's talk about the data centers because
data centers.
That is
an issue. The county and the city are kind of moving at, I would say, a little bit different rates. The county is to the point where they discussed it at the last meeting the Board of Commissioners is what I'm talking about. And so they're to the stage where they're going to have a public hearing on a moratorium, which is to say for a period of time, data centers, this type project will not be allowed. Now, that is not a permanent fix. And I think people who look at this issue understand that you can't just bar a business that meets your existing regulations.
You make a good point.
So, but you can say, hey, we need a little more time to study this. But that's how communities are getting like maybe a 1 year pause or 6 months or what have you.
And the state has said that you can't just use this to eliminate them.
No,
that's what the point that you're making. But I think we got 12 different communities right now across the state that have implemented moratoriums.
Yeah, some kind. I've heard different figures. It's a relatively small but still growing number. And you mentioned the politics of the issue. This is one of those issues, Gilbert, I think that's really not so much political because I've seen people across the political spectrum who have problems with it. And I've also seen support. Across the political spectrum. It's more of economic, because we can quibble, and this is an important quibble. I want to make it clear. We can quibble over the number of jobs they bring. It's not as much as some have promised, but it's not nothing either. In any community, especially a Tier 1 community like Fayetteville, Cumberland County, that's the lowest economic tier. You have to be thoughtful before you just say, we're not going to accept a project that is bringing jobs, even if it's a dozen jobs versus 100 jobs.
Well, Meta has invested in several communities, beyond the data center itself.
Right.
And I think that's the point. The amount of jobs it creates to build one eventually goes away.
It does, right? It does. Those are the construction costs, and then the permanent jobs. Some of them are not, they're perfectly fine, honest employment. But some of them are like custodian, cleaning up around the place. There's some engineering jobs.
$150,000 a piece.
That's true, but some of those can be done remotely, so you're not necessarily talking about people who are living here. And then you do have some jobs, people high salary, who would live here and contribute to the county tax base.
I've applied for the data center position of engineer. Can we work from my house? I'm studying now to figure out what it is I have to do.
Right.
Both Kenny and I talked about putting in applications.
That's
You know,
right. That's right. So,
but
that's
we
where the
joke
county
about
is,
it,
and the
yeah.
city is still in. They're I would describe it as an earlier stage. I did have one city council member who pushed back against me. That claimed they're at the same rate, but I don't think so. Right now, the city is waiting to hear their next meeting or upcoming meeting, a presentation about moratoriums, like how they work. Just the city staff coming to them and saying, well, this is how they work. This is how one can implement that. And the county is already clearly past that. Doesn't mean they're going to pass a moratorium, but they are to the stage where the public gets to weigh in at a public hearing.
Yeah, I have Mitch Colvin in here, Mayor of Fayetteville, every Thursday. We talked about it last week. We talked about it the week before, and we'll probably talk about it again tomorrow. Mitch is on board and understands the significance, the economic significance of having one.
Yeah.
But he also wants to make sure the public is brought along at the same pace. And, you know, as being a reporter as long as you have,
Sure.
you're going to have some people who are dead set on their issue, and there's not anything you're going to be able to tell them to change their mind.
Yeah, and there is some possibility of compromise between the anti-data center crowd and sort of where the mayor is. Mayor Colvin has, and represents, I would say, I wouldn't call it movement, but it was kind of a new announcement for him. Last week, he told me that he could support he would ask for a 90-day pause, not a moratorium, but just 90 days to, again, talk about these issues of studying it, looking at it. They'll be waiting for the moratorium report from the staff. So that represents, I think, activists who have been fighting these would say that represents some movement and some progress. Now, from their side, I've heard one of the most committed activists against it, Miss Rodriguez of Fayetteville Freedom for All. I mean, even she said, if you're talking about size matters when it comes to data centers. If you're talking about the smaller data centers, that's a different animal than what we're talking about, these hyperscale or super large data centers that use up so many resources. We have smaller data centers. We have one in City Hall that that powers the computing there. We have one at AIT. So those are different animals than what we're talking about, these mega, or what they call hyperscale data centers. That's what people are really fighting against.
Yeah, and so you can travel around the country and see the impact, because this is nothing new. There are communities that have them, and you can see the impact that these data centers are having in those local communities.
Yeah.
Some are good, some are not so good.
Right. And placement is a big thing, where they are. I saw a photo, and it's real. It wasn't AI. Speaking of, of course, data centers power AI and other computing activities. But there's a photo from Data Center Alley in Virginia, where they've built so many of these things, and there is a data center within 50 feet of a house. Now, that's the kind of thing the city, as the city staff pointed out, they can't really do anything about what utility companies charge for power. That's a PwC/Duke Energy decision. They can't do anything about that. They have limited in what they can do about water. That's really a state and federal decision. But they can pass an ordinance that dictates, you can't be in a neighborhood, for instance, with the data center, or you have to be set back so far. There has to be a buffer. So there are some things that the city and the county can do, and I'm glad to see that they're exploring these options.
Well, look, I'm not going to beat this one down, but just last point here, because you make a good one. To see a data center right next to a home, it's kind of like
they make noise.
Well, they make noise, but if you had a house that's been there, and all of a sudden the PwC comes in and puts a power table or cuts out the wood behind you, and they put a power line right behind you. That's not what you had when you bought the home, and it's probably going to impact the value of your home. Right. So those are all good things for folks to take a look at, to say these are the stipulations that we're going to make. We want to have the center, but you can't do X, Y, and Z.
Right.
And you can do this, that, and the other.
Right. And I think by fits and starts, it seems to me now, I don't cover the county. I'm not sitting in there every meeting. I do cover most of the city meetings, so I see the sausage getting made. So I've seen the discussion and the debate. It seems the county process is a little bit smoother than what the city is doing, but they're both, I think, going toward the same place in the end. I think there will be some pause on these projects for both, but people need to understand these are not permanent pauses. It's just, let's get the regulations in place, the restrictions, what we can do, and then we can expect to see some data center development in Fayetteville, like you see like you said, many other communities.
All right, we beat that topic now just about for all of your time here. We don't want to do that. You had another one that you wanted to talk about.
The one thing I want to say about both these topics, not to toot our own horn, but the Fayetteville Observer, FayettevilleObserver.com, has done some extensive coverage on both data centers. And this next topic, which is the County Board of Commissioners, is talking or just hearing. They're hearing a presentation about consolidating Department of Social Services and the Public Health Department. It is proven pretty controversial already. There have been strongly worded letters, which I have at my community conversations Facebook page. I encourage people to check that out and join the conversation. But I have strongly worded letters from both the boards of the Health Department and the Social Services who oppose consolidation of services, and really, as worrisome as anything, as concerning as anything they say in the letter, they decry the lack of notification that this was coming down the pike, the lack of transparency, according to the Social Services letter. Again, very strongly worded. And these, Gilbert, I'm an opinion editor, so I can express my opinion. These are two very different institutions. They do have overlap of services, and I think no one would say, why not have some efficiencies? They basically share the same park, or they have parking lots right
the buildings right beside each
other. So
other.
if there's things that they can do together, they can literally walk across the parking lot and do it. So we all support that. But the idea of combining two very different institutions that are serving two different populations, all with their own challenges.
Well, it's the same population, but different needs.
Different needs,
The health type needs have nothing to do, may have nothing to do with the social services needs of a community in terms of the counselor. Here's the thing, my concern, and because it's a talk show, and even though I'm a journalist, I can editorialize just like you.
Okay.
During my talk, so I take my hat off here and
shoot me an op-ed whenever you want.
Well, here's the deal. That we have employment issues and shortages in terms of counselors to take care of our population here in Cumberland County.
That's right.
And so if this is a cost-cutting move to make it better and eliminate, we're not in a position to eliminate positions.
Right, we need to be adding positions.
You can use that. We're not in a position to eliminate positions.
Verbatim. Why change a thing?
Just put that
no
down.
notes.
That's right.
So
but you get the dirt from what I'm
I
talking
agree
about.
with you, and what I would add to that is that I believe they will come to a good place on this, and probably that place will not be consolidation if they really listen to the stakeholders, which is these boards, the people in these departments. The county has surveyed people who work for both departments, and as you can imagine, the survey is the employees do not want this either. But if this leads us to where they make both departments more efficient, working together where it makes sense. So they already obviously work together in some cases. If that's the issue, then that can be resolved. The problem as I see it right now is that if you read the letters from both the health department and the DSS, they're just wondering where this came from, period.
All right. Well, the bottom line is the bottom line, and the question really isn't are they going to do it?
Right.
The question is, do they have the votes on the county commissioners to make what?
Do they have the 4 votes
to make it happen? That's it. We'll see. Well, we thought there was going to be an event center downtown, but that's a different story. I digress.
Whole different story.
Okay. All right.
Some similarities.
Myron, it's always good to talk to you and have you in every.
Always good to be
here. Are you every other week?
Yeah, every other week. Every other week.
All right. Myron Pitts, an opinion editor for the Fayetteville Observer. How can people get your paper?
FayettevilleObserver.com. Always just click there and let your fingers do the walking. That's an old telephone saying. You guys are too young to remember that.
Yeah, they are. And I know Trev Truce
they
next
even
door.
had the little fingers.
Trev Truce never. That's right. Let your fingers do the walking through the yellow pages.
That's
that was a song too. You don't know anything. Look, hold. Let me bring
Actually,
up
the song may predate
bring up
me.
the big dash cans. You ever hear that commercial? No? Trev Truce? Look, those are Give me some. Boom.
Old heads.
There you go.
Old
the fingers do the
right.
walking through the yellow pages.
FayettevilleObserver.com, and it's all there laid out for you.
All right. Thank you so much. Myron Pitts with the Fayetteville Observer. And right now, Trev Truth, I done ate up all kind of time. What are we doing?
Let's go to commercial.
You're listening to News Talk 640 WFNC.
This report is sponsored by Allstate. Some people just know you can save
Clear.
money on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Those people are probably saving a carload of cash right now. So what are you waiting for? Check Allstate first for a quote today. You're in good hands with Allstate.
Bringing you all the news and information that matters for 4 decades. News Talk 640 WFNC. Now in high def at 103.5 HD2.
Texting privacy policy and terms and conditions posted at radiodirect.com/privacy. Texting enrolls for recurring automated text marketing messages. Message and data rates may apply. Reply stop to opt out. Consult a doctor prior to use.
Wow, you look amazing. What have you been doing?
I'm sure you've heard of Ozempic, Wegovy, and the other GLP-1 medications, right? Well, I found this great company called Zelfie. If you qualify, their providers can prescribe medications like Ozempic and Wegovy and other GLP-1 medications that are 80 to 90% less expensive, all 100% online.
I can get GLP-1 medications for 80 to 90% less and do it all online? No doctor's office or pharmacy?
Yes, Zelfie can provide semaglutide or tirzepatide, the active ingredients in Ozempic and other expensive GLP-1s, but for 80 to